Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you're watching us from. We are talking to you live from our situation room at the SUSO headquarters in Lagos. And I'm here today with Dr. Doyle, the founder of Stand Up Speak Out Initiative, popularly known as SUSO. I'll be asking him a few questions today. You're welcome, Dr. Doyle.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. If you were a president, I'm going right in. If you were the president, and this is day 3 of the protest, what exactly would you say to the public, most especially the youth?
Thank you for having me. This is day 3 of our protest. When you said if you were the president, I was wondering whether you were referring to president of SUSO, or I didn't know if as a result of youthful agitation, you people have removed me already from, but the board has not informed me that I have ceased to be the president of SUSO. Because these days everybody keep using the term overthrow, wait for your turn, wait for another election cycle, but I presume you are talking about the president of our dear nation, Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, if I were him, at this day 3 of the campaign, by people who feel disenfranchised, they are hungry, they are not carried along, I would be thinking about the things to do and say, actionable points that they can point to see that we are a listening government. Because I think that is what is lacking. People feel that their leaders don't care about them. And that even these measures that have been put in place by the government, which is to address the foundation and the root causes of the problems we have in our economy, that the government is tone deaf in terms of its application of these policies. And so we have a myriad of problems that is plaguing this country today. It didn't start with this government, to be very clear. And I think every Nigerian, I dare say, appreciates the fact that these problems have built up over a period of time. Successive government from one party to another, from PDP to APC and every other group that have been involved with governance. The problem is not restricted to the federal level, even to the states and the local government levels. And sometimes I think also that people do not understand the tiers of government that we have and the responsibilities of each of these tiers of government. So they tend to stockpile all the problems on the federal government. But of course, this is a country. We are talking about a nation, Nigeria, about what happens in this country. So the buck stops at the president's table.
Right.
So the people are right in demanding that they need better services. They need better policies that will impact the economy, that will turn their fortunes around. People should have a right to shelter, to security, to food, basic amenities that will ensure the survival of the citizenry. But that has not been the case in Nigeria, where people are left to survive by themselves. So if we come down to the policies that has caused so much shake-up in the system, that people are feeling the impact of it in a negative way right now, because the immediate causes are biting. That's why we have this situation as we have today. The first, of course, is the fuel subsidy. From day one, when this government came into power, while the president was being sworn in, and as he read his inaugural address, he said subsidy is gone. And now, if you look at social media, people are saying they pulled up the president's own words when he was agitating on the side of the masses as well. He said to the government at the time, let the people breathe. And that is what people are asking for now, that let the people breathe. As well intentioned as those policies are, that we must implement policies and look at the people also that it will impact, especially the most vulnerable members of our our communities, of the country, those who do not have resources to support themselves. So when you are talking, there's been issues about, just recently, about minimum wage and so on and so forth. And people were advocating that for a living wage. A living wage means a wage that will be able to carry an average family. It is not asking too much.
No.
They are asking for some basic things that will ensure survival of people. And so to that extent, the citizens have a right on demanding demanding those conditions, because you don't want people picking from the streets, or they are not well fed, and people are ill, they are not able to afford medicine and so on and so forth. Or they can't even afford transportation to move from one place to another or to go to work. You're talking about people not being dishonest and maybe feeling government workers, for example, signing that they came to work whereas they were not there. But if they are not able to afford transportation out of the meager salaries they get, how do you create the condition for them to be sincere in the first place? Right. So if from paying 100 and something naira per liter, they now suddenly jump to over 600, 700 naira per liter, that's the fuel price, I mean. Yes. How do you expect citizens to be able to afford that? Those are the issues that is driving this strike. So if I were the president, I would be thinking about things that we can do in the interim, both short-term and long-term plans, to assure people that yes, it was necessary for us to remove the fuel subsidy. And everybody who knows about what really was going on would want that subsidy gone from day one, like the president did. But how do you roll out such a policy? In order not to shock the system the way it has done is what I would be thinking about to have done differently, and then look for a way now to mitigate that's the harmful effects of such a sudden change in policy, you understand? So that is what I'll be thinking about, how to address the nation right now. On day 3, certainly I will be addressing the nation, because already they have spoken on day 1, they have spoken on day 2, we have sent out lieutenants and people, ministers, other agents of government, but they don't think about those ministers, they think about the president. Right. Because the buck stops on his table. So if he comes to calm down nerves, to say, okay, you know what, I hear you, my people, we're on the same side. Although many people argue that they don't even listen to people. Every government does not listen to people because they are riding in all those cars that we see. Those cars are not made in Nigeria. There's this allegation that they bought some new presidential jets, presidential yachts, renovating their abode with billions and billions of naira, when they say there are no resources. Now, how do you convey to people that things are lean, that we are implementing these austerity measures to save and be able to have a sound economic foundation, when you embark on this type of expenditure that is glaring in the eyes of the public? Those type of double standards are part of what is fueling the anger in the land. And so some of those investments may have been necessary, but perhaps maybe they would have been delayed. But having made those investments, if they are true, we can now think about what are we doing on the side of the public so that there's a balance. I think the messaging also on the part of the government needs to improve. The people that are selling the government ought to be able to tell the public, these are a catalog of things that we are doing. For me personally, I'm aware that, okay, they said they are sending all those trailer loads of food items and so on and so forth to state, about 20 trailer loads and so on. That's targeted at the very vulnerable people in those communities. But when it gets there, the people that are implementing it, some of them have been caught, and you can see those pictures on social media, those videos where they will go and try to rebag it and sell it. So it doesn't even get to the people that the government at the federal level intends for it to get to. Those are part of the things that are heating up the polity and causing the anger that people feel and the pain. A hungry man is an angry man. So the government even was right in predicting correctly that if they allow people to go out on the streets in the manner they wanted to go about it from day one, if there wasn't so much pushback in terms of please don't do the messaging that we can't destroy what we have, we can't do some of the things that you have in your mind, you would have seen that by now maybe some of the states would have collapsed in terms of people making a rush at whatever they can find. And sometimes it's just for survival. People are attacking other people without thinking that some of the people they are attacking have taken loans from banks. This is their private business. This what they are looting in the places that such looting happened on Monday and maybe yesterday. It doesn't belong to government. It belongs to suffering people like themselves that are trying to create jobs in this country. And when you attack those people, you take those jobs away. We have more people now, even in the unemployment pool, than we had before the protest. Yes. But agitation is necessary, constructive agitation, in order for those that are the helms of governance. We understand that it's a way of making them feel the pulse of the people, for them to know that it is a feedback system for them to know whether they are doing well or not. So if I were the president, I would look for a way to address the nation, look for the high points of what we have done, try to communicate as effectively as possible why those policies were taken and what the gains that have come out of those policies now and where we intend to take the country to in the next few years. For example, the fuel subsidy we're talking about, it was rumored that some people with round-trip ships, empty ships, go to the Atlantic Ocean and turn right back with the connivance of people in government departments and the State Oil Corporation. And instead of, that's what the rumor is. If it is true, for example, they have the information, they will know whether it's true or not. If it is true, those are the kind of things that this policy has ended. Yeah. Because you can't bring any empty ship again. There's no subsidy. And then the alternative is that we are fortunate as a country to have a huge refinery that's built. So rather than, in terms of what is being in the public domain that they are debating now, rather than give the money to the state, to the governors that you think it will trickle down to the economy and create some change, they can do some things. And there are some governors that have actually come out to catalog what they are doing in terms of the extra money that is coming. One of the governors was bold enough to say, I'm receiving 3 times what I used to receive before. And here is A, B, C, D that I've done with these resources. That citizens should ask their governors, what are you doing with our money? Every single citizen should go ahead and ask their governor, where is the money going to? Because it's easy to say the federal government. The federal government is only doing things in the so-called exclusive list. Power. They've even divulged that. They've even divulged that responsibility. They've condensed it. No, not condensed it. They reduced it to the lower tier of government, which is at the state level now. And then entities can even go into manufacturing, producing power and then selling power to the public. You know, so there are some things that are not even the responsibility of the government anymore. Government still build federal highways, do federal housing schemes and things like that. Those are the areas that can intervene in our lives.
But the state government are responsible for a large chunk of what needs to be done, and so also the local government. What are they doing at their level with the money that is coming in? So the government can be able to say, this is how much more we are giving to your state. The president can be able to show people that, see, it's not just about ending fuel subsidy. Even the state government can say, these stations, you can buy fuel at this rate. Because that money that would have gone to a foreign entity is come to the states. So why don't you make the fuel available for your people at a lower cost? That if you have a government coupon, for example, you'll be able to buy fuel at this rate. Because they've given you money from the federal allocation to compensate for the money they are saving from the subsidy. So why are we not able to give coupons to members, citizens of our own state that are paying taxes and living and working in your domain? The government can make that case, for example. And not only that, at the local level, what are they doing with the money that is going down to that place? Because if you don't address that, what will happen? Most of the governors are already seen to be corrupt. It is said that some of the governors, once they get federal allocation, they change it to foreign currencies, with which they stash away, either funnel it out through fictitious projects that they claim is coming to the government. These are rumors, but it's in the public domain. So these are not helping our country. It's not helping our own currency to stand when you change all our money to foreign currency. If I were the president today, it is my mandate, it is my responsibility to enforce the Constitution as an executive arm of government. What stops the president from signing an executive order today that we are a sovereign nation? And as a sovereign nation, we are not supposed to be trading in other people's currency internally inside our country. It's the same way that when you go to the US, you go to Britain, you go to any parts of Europe, nobody accepts Naira transaction in terms of engaging you for trade.
Not even in Africa.
Not within any African country. So why is it that it's possible to allow your currency to be in such a way that nobody has any faith in your local currency because they are changing it to other foreign currency? The president can end this era of lawlessness today by signing an executive order and saying all transaction that is domestic now must be in Naira. Then all those people that are going to change money to dollars, it will stop. And then the Naira will automatically appreciate. Because when you show faith in your currency and you be sure you believe that every transaction now will be in Naira, then there's no need for you to be making a run at the dollar or euro or pounds. We need leaders with courage. And if the president, if he can hear us, he knows that he's a courageous man that is reputed to be, he needs to take action. Nobody should be holding our president hostage over their own currency. This is a sovereign nation. And if it's a sovereign nation, they need to prove it. Because people cannot go and pour investments here and they intend to serve the local population and sell to people in Naira. And then when it is time for them to even recoup that wherever they get their money from, they will not be able to. One is not saying you cannot seek for FX, because we need to be able to seek for foreign exchange to be able to engage with others, foreign trade.
Of course.
It's normal, and every country does that. If somebody in the US wants to transact with somebody in Britain, they ask you, do you want through the bank, do you want to earn in this amount? Do you want to buy it in this amount or that amount? But they sell to you primarily in their local currency. That is what Nigeria should be about. It should be about Nigeria, about how we are going to pursue policies and implement policies that is going to help our economy to stand, help the local manufacturing to stand, have people have confidence in our own Naira, so that we will be able to move the nation forward. So the president has a lot that he can say, he can do in the interim, short-term measures that he can immediately take action on, that people will now have confidence in him. But the option is not to ignore people or just wait it out. It's not going to work. Well, I don't know about amendments because they've been talking about amendments to the 1999 Constitution, and the Senate has at various times attempted to amend the Constitution, and they've made some changes here and there. But the main aspects of the Constitution that tends to give too much power to the center, too much power to the governors, and which are the main source of the problems that we have as a country, it has remained untouched. So when you talk about amendments, the reason why there's a constitution is that there's a governing document, a set of rules that are agreed to by the subsisting entities of a body, and it is agreed to that this is the rules by which all of us are going to be governed, and we shall abide by it. That is the purpose of a constitution. That constitution is supposed to be supreme. The reason why there were amendments to the US constitution was because they found out after a period that it was not serving the general good for the general good of the people, and so there was a need for them to adjust those documents. There have been several areas where people are calling for amendments to our constitution. The first area is the area of the cost of governance, that the constitution is such that it allows for multiple layers of public officers that are performing similar jobs, and they are not really doing the job full time. That what is the point? That is too expensive for a developing nation. And so in that context, people have proposed that maybe we should have a referendum so that we can go back to a parliamentary style of government whereby it's much more inexpensive to run as against the presidential system that we have. Those are amendments that people have proposed. But they are not, the people who are beneficiaries of the current system don't seem to be interested in trying to drive that, the country in that direction. There are amendments also as to
what should be accruing to the federal government from the state, whether this idea of accruing everything from the state, whether resources that are found under your soil, whether they belong to the federal government. Why should it belong to the federal government? Should it not belong to the state or to the owners of those lands? Since the federal government does not own any land, really, you understand? Why is it owning the resources under the land? You understand? Those are things that people have discussed. But because for this particular case of Nigeria, we have oil flowing in some places and so on and so forth, and that's the main source of income. The government is holding on to it. The issue about what the government is even doing with it right now is not primarily the problem Nigerians have, is how they are spending those resources. Even if with the current formula, if they are applying it in the correct way, I don't think there will be any agitation so much about for the amendment, you understand. But where it is proven not to be serving the state or serving the people in the state, it ought to be amended. And that is the reason why we have had amendment to some constitution, to some older constitution that have served the people well. In the case of Nigeria, it is long overdue, and we are hoping that the people in government will take a look at it, especially given the agitation that is coming, or some ethnic nationalities saying they want to break away and things like that. They need to look at what are the root causes of those grievances. How is it not serving some sections of the country well and is serving others? Or is it a general view and nobody seems to have done something about it? So amendments are necessary in order for government to be more effective.
Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of what you would do as the president. I want to ask this question, and I think it's a question that is on most Nigerians' mind. What is your opinion, or what steps can the government take to boost the demand for Nigerian-made products and foster a culture of local patronage amongst citizens?
Okay, thank you. As a follow-up to what I said during my answer to your last question about what the president can do immediately, apart from the fact that we have a situation where right now people don't have direction, they don't understand fully the direction where the government is headed. Part of the challenge that we've had is the fact it's our insatiable appetite for foreign-made goods. You see that year in and year out, we spend and we budget hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for things that we are going to import into this country. Some of those things are made right here in Nigeria. So when you prefer what is made outside to what you are making locally, there is no room for you to even grow and develop that market. Because most of the people that started manufacturing locally that would have probably continued to improve on their output and what it is that they have produced and they are putting in the economy, you understand? They do not have the opportunity to grow because there's no patronage. And everything begins from the government. Yes, it is true that they are for private ventures, but if a country is trying to grow its local economy, it must do some specific things to show that it has faith in that economy. True. The government, for example, has set up the local content development and management boards. And the whole purpose of doing that is to help local participation and in terms of growing local technology and local participation in the economy. But things as basic as tissue paper, stationaries that are used in government offices, chairs and tables and so on and so forth. These same agencies of government, we import these things out of the country or patronize people that are bringing them from outside the country. How do you grow the local economy if you are behaving in this way? And when people see you, the people you are telling to have faith in the locally manufactured goods, how will they believe you when you are doing something to the contrary? So I think there again, there's an opportunity for the government to be an example, to show leadership. If, for example, you walk into the president's office and everything that is in the president's office, in the vice president's office, in the governor's office, in the director's office, these directors of parastatals, they are all made in Nigeria. Do you know the kind of impact that will have in our local economy?
Yeah.
All these monies that are going to be sent out will be given to Nigerians that are doing hard work. And Nigerians are known to be people of excellence, that if you give them opportunity, they will thrive. So that is what we're saying. The government needs to put his money where his mouth is. You can't be telling people to patronize Nigeria that you are doing this and you are not showing an example. Mm. So I believe in this situation, the president and the governors and all these people that make this decision can use this opportunity as an opportunity to make a statement. For example, if I were the president, to your former question, I will use this period to declare that right now, every single of these stationaries and accessories that we use in the office, chairs, tables, everything that is made in Nigeria should be bought in Nigeria. That is going to have a significant impact again on the forex, on the pressure that we have on the naira, and the skyrocketing and volatile nature of the forex market that we have. So that people will not be running and changing their hard-earned currency to buy everything that should otherwise have been produced and made here in Nigeria. And it doesn't even give the room for the local manufacturers to grow their business. You will see many Nigerians that are going into these businesses because they now know that there's a ready market for it, and that those things are not going to come anymore from outside of the country. The government can give an outright and total ban on those products. You see why sometimes people are wondering why some leaders that seem to be divisive, you understand, why they are popular among some nationalists. You understand? You see leading figures worldwide like President Donald Trump, who is, by the way, at this time running for office, you understand, saying that there will be a complete and total ban on this. Because he wants to save the American economy, for God's sake. Everybody practices protectionism. If you don't protect your own economy, they're going to run you aground the way Nigeria's economy is being run aground. It is foreigners that are dictating what happens here, but with the active connivance, of course, by some persons that are in this economy. Why will you allow a nation that floods your own economy with all its goods and services? Meanwhile, you cannot even open a business in those countries. And if you open, it has to be with maybe in collaboration with some persons in those countries. And how much of the Nigerian produce are you taking there? Here we take raw materials that ordinarily should have been finished and added value, and we can gain a lot more. We just take unrefined raw materials out in the name of exports. That cannot continue. We will never be able to compete against those nations. If we are to turn things around and behave like those nations, I'm not saying we should behave out of whatever every other person is doing. Let's just imitate these economies that have developed and grown by putting our feet on the ground and say, Nigeria cannot be a dumping ground for everything. If we are able to do that, we have a leader that is courageous and strategic enough to say, this is the direction. Nigerians, the person will be able to galvanize everybody around them, and Nigerians will be able to support that government. No matter how biting these measures are, they will see a clear direction that we are headed someplace, a light beyond the tunnel, and I'm telling you, that could be the turning point.
All right, sir. So, final question of the day. What would you say to the youths who are on the street right now protesting? What would be your advice to them? What would you say to them?
Thank you. What will I say to the youths? I cast my mind back to when the president said during his electioneering campaign that he's a youth. In fact, to be very frank with you, I didn't know I was still a youth until the president said he was a youth. Then I said, I'm going to spend many more years being a youth if our president is a youth. So I think this is a time for engagement. Already the youth perceive this president as a competent and capable person head at the helms of affairs. He is a head of state that they believe that has been able to turn the fortunes of Lagos State around. Use that as a shining example of what could be, Nigeria could be. So I think it's an opportunity for him to be able to come out to address the nation and tell us the direction he's taking us. As painful as these measures are, like I said, the policies of this government has to be sold properly. It has to be explained to the citizenry. We need to understand where we are headed as a people. The government needs to model what it's saying. You cannot be telling people to tighten their belt where you are involved in extravagant spending. You cannot be enjoying while you expect the masses to be suffering. The citizens of this country have carried our leaders, successive leaders, for many years on their back. Whereas it's supposed to be the other way around, where leaders are supposed to model the example and help the nation to rise. We have to turn leadership the other way around. We need progressive leaders that are inspirational, that are team-oriented, that allow participative form of governance where everybody has a say and we can contribute, those who want the government to succeed and are contributing, rather than passive, avoidant, neurotic leaders that will create divisions and then just be thinking autonomous leaders that are self-protective, that are hiding behind the corridors of power and all those institutions where we find them. We want people that will be engaging and leaders that when they come around, they will exude confidence in people and people can even look up to them and say, okay, this is where we are headed as a country. And that is not what is found now. We have people that are in their chiefdoms, in quote, where they are the all and all. And as a result, people have lost faith in such a system. We've seen a lot of people that were said to be running out of town because of fear of being attacked by the people. If you are a leader and you are governing properly, you should not be afraid of the people. The people will defend you because they know you are a good leader. So the president should engage the youth. I think it's an opportunity for the president to do some things that I believe that he may be willing to do, but he's being held down because of consideration of other people, the powers that be. Now that he has seen that the people can rise up in mass protest and even sack the entire government if things go out of hand, he can use that as the basis to press forward some of his reforms that he wants to carry out. But this time around, the reform should not be targeted at the people. It should be targeted at the cost of governance because it's too much, the cost is too high. All those people that have insatiable appetite for wanting to waste resources, and that is the only reason why they are aspiring into those government offices. This is the time, Mr. President, to cut all those excesses and tell them enough is enough. We need a strong president. Nigerians believe in you. The youth believe in you, and that is why you have been entrusted with the responsibility of governing this nation. The SUSO Initiative is saying it is time to stand up and stand out of the crowd of all these leaders, clueless leaders that we have had over the years. It is time we have a leader that really listens to the people and aspires to take Nigeria to the greatness that he truly deserves. This nation is filled with people that are really wonderful. Like everywhere else they've been, as I've said in previous interviews, they've excelled. They are a people of excellence. They have the capacity, but this environment we have created whereby there is no accountability, that is the reason we are where we are as a nation. And now we need to set up a system that holds everybody accountable. We need to set up a judicial system that nobody will say a snake or monkey swallows people's money and the person doesn't go to jail. Or they come and start making a mockery at the law court that they are suddenly ill because they are being arraigned. Those people should be promptly taken and jailed. And any judge that is corrupt, that frees them, should equally go to jail. We shouldn't be playing this as if this is a child's play. This is a country. We cannot be making a mockery of ourselves before the entire world and expect to be taken seriously. It is time for us to look at our excesses, cut those excesses, and start building a true nation. And this is not about talking about Muslim, Christian, North, South, or whatever. Hunger does not respect anybody. Underdevelopment does not respect anybody. We need to look at a country now that we are going to treat our citizens wherever they may come from, whatever their sexual orientation or whatever it is. We will treat them with respect, but we don't allow strange cultures to control how we behave in our own communities, because we are Africans. We know where we come from. We know how we care for one another. We know those traditional ties that we have that bonded us together even before the advent of a democracy. Those are the cultural values and the traditional values that we can bring to bear in government. We cannot continue anymore to continue to ignore the people that we are supposed to take care of. We must look at the most vulnerable members of our communities and craft policies and implement policies that are going to lift them out of poverty. That is only when we are secure as a nation. When we win, when all of us win together, when we are able to proudly say this is what we were able to do while we office for our people, then there will be no fear of anybody inciting other people. We cannot keep hiding behind politically motivated demonstrations or activism. That's not the time to say that. If there is no hunger on the land, if there is no lack, perpetual lack, nobody will listen to any other politician in the opposition trying to incite them. The basic issues are the basic issues of human survival. And that is what the opponent may be exploiting. If you take those issues away, then they have no power over you who is in office. Just that is the secret to how anybody in the presidency, in the governor's seat, or in any other elected position can be secure. We need to begin to think about our people and engage them in a way that is respectful, that is considerate, that is compassionate. Our leadership must be altruistic. They must not be self-serving, but they must be servant leaders that will be able to model the kind of leadership that this nation truly deserves. That's where we are headed as a country, we believe. By this engagement with SUSO, with other civil liberties organizations that are trying to fill in the gap to continue this conversation and discourse, I believe that Nigeria is on a great path forward. All of us need to be involved. Everybody, whether you are a professional or whatever it is where you are working, whether in the public sector, this conversation and engagement need to be continued constructively. We want to use this opportunity once more to call on the youths. Destroying people's property is not a solution. Because some of the victims that you are going after their hard-earned resources are victims like yourself. So let us, in exercising our rights and all the things that we are doing, remember that two wrongs, like they say, never make a right. Let's not attack people's property. Let us make the government hear us. Let us engage them constructively. Let us, by all means, stand up and speak out. Because if we don't speak, the poor will not breathe. In the words of the president, let the poor breathe.